Hi, welcome to INXS Access All Areas, episode 219, turn 5. This episode, it's our birthday. So all of our wonderful patrons and listeners out there, all the great contributors to our show over 5 years, thank you. But most of all, thank you, B. We had a party and we're 5. How are you?
Oh, no, we had a party with 5. And we also had 25,000 followers as well we turned over. So it's all the 5s.
It's all starting to happen. We had a fantastic time. And this is going to be probably a partial self-indulgent episode. But our theme of this particular episode is a bit of a reverse episode. B. What is normal? We're going to do sort of the reverse today. So we're probably going to have our topic up front and personal, our news sort of the back end. And what we would love to be able to do today is just share what happened over the course of our 5th birthday party in Sydney on the weekend and bring people who unfortunately couldn't always be there or couldn't be there to partially experience it as though you were there. So we're going to bring some great audio, some great footage, share some anecdotes, bring home, exactly what we did over the weekend and try and make you feel a part of it. If you unlike John Jamin and Danielle, who flew overseas, and our friends from Spain who flew in, few of those people who couldn't do that but live far away, we would love to sort of share and bring that world of our get-together to you. Looking forward to almost nostalgically 48 hours later, post-hangover later, B.
How did you have a hangover?
I had a big one, actually. I didn't realise it until I got home and I was on the couch and 4 hours of my life disappeared Sunday afternoon. So
I could get drunk. I kept getting a drink and then somebody would hug me. I'd put it down and then I'd lose it and I was going back and up the bar again. Must have been on adrenaline.
Well, we're going to dedicate this show to one of our long-term patrons today, Lisa Mack, who's having a bit of a battle at the moment. She's fighting hard, but she's obviously dealing, with one of those unfortunate illnesses that sometimes strikes our family, which is the big C, and she's bravely fighting it at the moment, and I hope she doesn't mind us sort of sharing sort of her battle with you, but she's been a real sweetheart to our podcast over time. We're going to dedicate this particular episode to her today, and we're going to sort of hopefully raise her spirits by bringing this party to her and a lot of our other listeners as well, B. Before we go into that today, I better ask, how's your INXS fortnight been? Since we last recorded, I'm sure a whirlwind for you, hasn't it, put this party together?
And I'm going to say, yeah, I can't believe we did it. We did it.
Well, I'm going to say that you did it because I was in awe of, the experience that I had being there and what you sort of put behind it. But if we do a little bit of a timeline, a bit of a chronology.
Before we start that, can I just say a big thank you first?
Okay.
And then if I miss them, I can say it at the end as well. Is that all right?
Very much so.
Because the main person that helped me with this, it was late night phone calls and he couldn't even make it either. So let's dedicate this to him too. But that was Darren Jones. Yes. Darren Jones came up with lots of ideas and at the very end he couldn't make it. So mate, you were there in spirit. We will be sending you a goodie bag. The other people obviously was with Danielle and her husband Joel. They helped me tremendously, and John Jamin. And Helen, who was our photographer on the day. She brought in the prizes for the awards. So thank you. That was very helpful. Sam Evans. Wow. Thank you, Sam, for bringing... allowing us to have some really good merch to give away to the patrons. Richard Simpkins, we'll talk about later. And then also Mila and the two girls, Trinity and Alicia.
And they looked like they were very excited to get out of Coffs Harbour for the weekend and come down to Sydney and cut a sway through this whole scene of the night, which was great.
Yeah, I had an amazing time. Yes. I looked after them.
I reckon that those girls probably went back and said to Mila that night, your mum's so cool. I wish my mum was like your mum and did things like this. I reckon that's come up a few times. But yes, so look, just a little bit of a backdrop. Yes, but you headed down I think on Thursday and you popped into Universal, which is where this sort of part of their Australian management is from, and we're able to pop in and get some goodie bags just for the sake of everybody in those little goodie bags. Do you want to share with listeners what some of our people who were on the tour got in their bags, because they had a sort of listen like these black sort of tote bags set up. And what was inside the goodie bags overall?
Yeah, thanks, Danielle, for having that. They were very heavy boxes that we had to cross. We were on the opposite side of the road. Well, we put them out on the social so you can have a look at them. But they were a black tote bag with the writing on both sides. One of the logo from the Listen Like Thieves logo, which is a little bit different to the others, isn't it? It's quite drawn on. And then it says the Listen Like Thieves tour and the date is 1980.
Silhouette logo, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
And then a big box of CDs for everybody, which is the double CD. Fantastic. I've got it here. Played it in the car. Did you play it yet?
The Listen Like These reissue. Everybody in the bus
got
a complimentary CD deluxe version. Yep.
Yeah. So they all got one of those each, which is my little bucket in. What else? Oh, they got the special lanyard, didn't they? So they made a special lanyard for everybody, and it's got INXS written all over the ribbon as well. I've got a few left, so we'll probably do some sort of competition with those as well. But they're beautiful. It's the cover, and then it's got written on it, Access All Areas, which is where you got the name from.
I guess there was a little chocky bar in there. We gave that little reveal away last week. It was the Kit Kat, not as opposed to the Kit Kat.
Yes.
And I was amazed, B. How do you go and get those things printed up and fitting?
I did it all by myself, mate.
Really? You did it on the computer?
I did it on a computer, and then I got it on silky paper. I did all the measurements, put our logo on, And then, yeah, I'm just pretty good, aren't I?
Well, you know,
And the rock star rating, you saw that.
I ate half my Kit Kat when I got home at 2 a.m, and then when I left to go to the airport, I got in the cab and oh my god, the other half of the Kit Kat's not there, but I have got my little Kit Kat wrapper, which is more important.
Yeah. Well, I'll send you
Sure.
I'll send you a flat one so you can put it up or whatever. And then I did a little box for everybody as well. And inside, did you open your little box, Hayden?
I think I have, but just remind me what was inside. Was there the little badge or no?
We've got the little band that was
Okay, yep.
made by Darren Joseph. So thank you, Darren. Everybody got one of those. They loved it.
Little
And then
wristband, yep.
yeah, and then I did a little thank you for your support from you and I. And then there was a little card that I put in there of the band, and on the back I just put a couple of lyrics. And I thought that'd be nice to put into their wallets and just remember the day.
Fantastic. So what we'd like to do now, I guess, is a bit of a backdrop. Went into Universal, picked up the goodie bags, which is great. Thank you everybody for that. But I thought I'd throw to you, B. Let's get into the day itself. The bus met everybody in the Northern Beaches at I think the McCure Hotel. How do you pronounce that hotel, B?
Yeah, the McCure Hotel. You weren't there, were you?
Well,
so I better tell everybody. Yeah. Well, you weren't there at the hotel when we all had everybody meeting up, which was very exciting. It was lovely seeing everybody.
Share with me, because I wasn't there for that. A few of us flew in, so we were meeting at the church to start with if we came from the airport side. But tell us about the morning at the hotel.
Well, the night before, a lot of people had actually had a meal together the night before as well. So it was getting exciting given the night before. Danielle and I couldn't make it. We had a production line of all the goodie bags and making those all up. So that was, we were in our Jim Johns of INXS. And then we met everybody in the morning and the coach rolled up and Tony, the driver, also from the Northern Beaches, had some great stories to share later on as well.
In terms of bus drivers with a positive attitude and with a link to the theme of the day, and who was generous and giving, what a great host for the day on the bus.
So nice and so good looking as well.
Well, I'll leave that one to you, but he probably cut a sway through the Northern Beaches back in his day.
Very suave, I thought.
He wasn't a average looking bus driver, was
he? No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
And he was very good, and he gave me the microphone, which was great. I was at the front there. I lost my voice at the end of the day, but that was okay.
Sure.
And then we came straight into, well, we were a little bit late because Dr. Jim was running a bit late. I think the train wasn't running, and he had to catch an Uber, but we were still on time. And that was my first surprise. Do you know what my first surprise was?
What's that?
Seeing you.
Right.
I thought you weren't going to be there. You hadn't spoken to me for a week.
Well, let's build some anticipation. But so you guys all jumped in the bus, right? But there were a few of us who actually met at the church based on their logistics and things.
Yeah. So how did that go? Were you first there, and everyone?
I was actually, but the trains from the airport. This is really boring for our listeners, but look, the trains from the airport were not running. So I'm on the bus, getting a bus into the city, and then I walked up from Central up to St Andrew's Church, and I saw a couple of INXS t-shirts in the vicinity. I thought, okay, they're with us. And that was Georgie from Adelaide, and then it was I think it was Jody, maybe a couple others, and then we sort of met there. And not long after, you guys turned up. And I guess for those unaware, at the start of our tour, we met at St Andrew's Church, where unfortunately Michael's passing or funeral was held. But it was lovely. We were able to sort of, I guess, myself included, but for Glenn and I think also Paul,
Chris and Craig, yeah,
we were able to sort of share individual stories of that day of the funeral, and find a little spot to the side of the church on the outdoor area, just to share our experiences on the day. And that was right.
Yeah. And Craig was saying that he was the guy that held that stupid man that was going to jump off the balcony. Yeah. So that was firsthand as well. Yeah, it was lovely. We found a little courtyard, didn't we? And we all stood around in a circle and heard your stories. That was the start. And then we jumped back on the bus and we went down some one-way streets the wrong way. And we were bibbing a car while a fire truck was coming the opposite way. He was a bit rock and roll, our driver. It was quite fun. And we made our way, yes.
No, with Instant, you're right. Sydney's such a hilly sort of city, really, especially in the CBD and the first 5 kilometre radius. So it's very hilly now. Our driver was sort of taking the lefts and the rights, like the chicane of Hockenheim in the Grand Prix there.
Yeah, it was a big coach. For 30 people.
Correct. And with B on backup vocals, with a bit of feedback on the microphone, he had a few challenges there. But we sort of, we're weaving through some of the streets. There's a few little landmarks. Do you want to share some of those that you mentioned?
Yeah, well, we couldn't see too much. I mean, we saw the back of the restaurant, unfortunately, but we did go past the Intercontinental.
Now, restaurant. Listeners don't know what you mean there.
The restaurant where Michael went before he went back to the hotel, and it was his favourite, which is the Indian restaurant.
He's Indian restaurant. He went there with Cal and
the flavour of India.
Yes.
It's good, yes. So yeah, we didn't really get to see that. We only saw the back of that, but we went past the Intercontinental and just all nodded. We didn't get off the coach. We were very respectful, and we made our way to Centennial Park.
Yeah, Centennial Park on March 28th, 1992, for those who know, where the Concept of Life was, which was INXS's soul, but massive concert in Australia to 80,000 plus people with tickets only at $20 a ticket. If you go back through our sort of our list of episodes, we have done a deep dive on that, so you will get more detail if you go back to that particular episode. But that was great again because we had on our bus too who were there on the day. And
Yeah, drunken there on the day.
Huh?
They were there and drunk on the day. Some of them were going, oh, I can't remember exactly where it was.
Well, we were trying to actually ask where was the actual concert because the park's so massive. And it was like, we didn't go over there. No, it was over there. But either way, what it was a massive sort of setup there where you can imagine just, the crowd being able to surge in and have a fantastic day. And as I said, there's some great footage of Michael doing an interview there leading up to that gig. There is some footage, I guess, on YouTube of the gig itself and some of the set list that's actually there. And again, we'd urge you to go back and listen to that episode. But that was just great to see that. I'd never been.
Yeah, I think someone said we were in the right place because you could see the city behind. And I think there's some footage of Michael and you can see the city behind him. So we'll have to fact check that one. And again, we parked in a naughty spot and we had security come and move us on quite quickly.
If anyone's seen an early Seth Rogen movie called Observe and Report, or I think a Kevin, what's his name? One of these bad actors, Kevin James in it might be Paul Blank Mall Cop. There was this wussy little sort of a siren without a siren going, like the lights were blaring, going up behind the bus. Like, you guys aren't supposed to be here. Park there. So that was more amusing than probably anything. But
yeah, it was.
But look, yeah, we then got on the bus there, and I guess after there, where did we head? It was to Belrose.
Well,
past Barris House.
No. We went to pay our respects to Michael at the memorial. And on the way, Dr. Jim got out his guitar.
Well, yeah. As we're heading out to Centennial Park, the resident musical aficionado, Dr. Jim, started strumming, I think, by my side and never tear us apart. And the whole bus had a bit of a sing-along as we're leaving Centennial Park, which was lovely and very, very spontaneous.
Yeah,
but you're right. I apologize. We then headed to the memorial.
Yeah. And I bought some flowers and we got to lay those. And well, it's the first time that Danielle obviously had been because this is her first time in Australia. And there's some gorgeous photos that her husband took of her paying her respects, and the shaft of light hitting Michael's memorial at the same time. It's quite touching. It gives you goosebumps when you see it. It's beautiful.
And it was good. Look, we'd been fortunate to be there before. You may have been there a couple of times. It was the second time for me, but it was lovely just sort of seeing some people, particularly those from overseas or those from interstate who had never had a chance to go there. It is quite
powerful,
reflective, and a little bit emotional for some when people see it for the first time. And we understood that some people, probably, it was a little bit confronting and things, but it was lovely for them to be able to pay their respects and see what is a very lovely little setup there for Michael, and a lovely little chair that people want you to sit on, and they want people to sit there and reflect. And one particular guy, I think it was, apologies who it was, they said to me that they'd gone there one day at 8 in the morning, were there till 8 at night. They were just so, they were just sort of, maybe they were in a melancholy moment and just wanted to hang out.
That's a long time, isn't it?
That's a long time, yeah. But look, everybody sort of grieves and remembers differently. So look, that was a sort of touching moment. And
well, there's some nice photos that people have taken, and yeah. And I didn't realise that Banjo Patterson was buried not far from Michael.
He's a very famous poet in Australia. The man from Snowy River, for those who don't know. And
right. Good company.
Right.
Okay, so then the bus driver came and got us and took us off again. And this time he was looking at his clock, his watch, and he was saying, I think we really need to get on. I said, okay, we've got to go and pick somebody up from Davidson High. This beautiful lady came over called Deb, who had been to school at Davidson High at the same time and was really good friends with John. And when John went to Perth, they kept friends as pen pals, and she got all of his pen pal letters for us to look at. So we scooped her up and took her to lunch with us at Belrose Hotel so she could have nice chats with everybody about her book.
And look, she was very, very kind to us. She let us read the letters. Out of respect, she'd want us to necessarily take photos of the letters, whatever there. But I'm sure she wouldn't mind us saying that, there's, John saying, hey, you got my license, I know how to drive. And you're seeing sort of John's sort of 17-year-old handwriting in these beautiful letters and things like that. And
even pictures, he'd drawn pictures for her.
Yeah, and she kept pamphlets from some of the gigs where she went to between 77 to 82.
Yeah.
Some of the gigs at the time were $2 entry to get in, or $6 4 or 5 years later. And she had some photos of the Year 10 camp that they went on.
And we found out that he'd been in another band as well, something Fish.
Yeah, and he'd been in another band there with a couple of people, and she was able to recite DNA.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a great photo of that particular band that she let me take as well, which we'll put on her socials.
Oh, great.
And showing him on drums, I've got that. And look, she joined us, I think, for lunch, and then we invited her there that night. I don't know if she made it to the party, but she came to the lunch.
I don't think she was at the party. It was all of a bit of a blurred party.
Yeah, but look, we're at David's Supply there, which was great for everyone to see. And as she just said, the guys were there at the school when it was only a year 7 to 9, but it was a new school, so then it became a 10 to 12. And we then went to the Belrose Hotel via dropping past the Ferris brothers' house they grew up, although we just sort of went past and waved, and then went to the hotel for a lovely...
We did a slow by, look at, didn't we? Yeah, because it's been handed over to another family, so we just wanted to be respectful there.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we got to Belrose Hotel.
I think it was great for everybody there to meet each other and
Hmm.
to probably just sit and bond a little bit together. And
Yeah,
just to recap, we had Dr. Jim come from Melbourne. We had
Rachel from WA,
Rachel from WA, which is a massive.
Chris from the Gold Coast.
Chris from
In
the
fact,
Gold
I think there was a couple of people from the Gold Coast.
Yes.
There's a lot of you from Melbourne
We obviously had our friends from Spain
and Adelaide.
and Adelaide, and then we obviously had Danielle and her partner, husband from America, you from Colf. So we had John Jamin from Boston. Well, actually, a higher up, I think, in New Hampshire. So look, I mean, it was just great for everyone to mix and mingle and be in front of each other versus the bus, and had a lovely lunch. And then after that, I think we head to the chapel. Was that next?
Yes, we did go to the chapel, which was lovely. The I want to
Church
call
of Kirk.
I wanted to call him anyway. The priest couldn't make it, but the people that were there were the original people that Karen Peters and I had bumped into. So that was lovely because that had been a few years ago, and they opened up the church for us again. And up until that point, everybody had been so chatty and talkative and excited. But once we were in that church, you could have heard a pin drop, couldn't you? Everybody really felt the presence of Michael.
This is the power.
3 years ago for our second birthday, and this one was even more special. We
Yeah.
got into the church, and there was obviously more of us there, and then the priest and his
No, it wasn't. He wasn't the priest. He was just part of the church. He's been around for a while.
okay.
That's Warren and Lorna.
They husband and wife.
Yes.
Yeah, you were able to get up and chat, and
Told the story of how we found the church.
yeah, that's right.
quite
And
lovely.
there's a lovely tree outside that especially sort of planted, I think, post Michael's passing, and I think Tina and
Patricia.
Patricia had something to do with that. Do you want to just elaborate that story?
Yeah, I mean it's personal to them, but what we've been told is that that's where Michael was christened, and we all saw the little I want to call it a pulpit, but it's not a pulpit, where they have the little head put in and they wet the head. We all got to see that, and then so they wanted to spread some ashes there, Tina and Pat. So what they did is they bought a little some seeds in a bush, and it's grown from Michael's ashes.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And yeah, we crowded around that. And what's the church? It says let's say the Church of Kirk, but what's the name of the church again?
Forest Kirk.
Forest of Kirk. Well,
Wow.
yes,
Again.
yes. And we'll
But it wasn't called that when Michael was christened there.
We're probably there for about 30 minutes or whatever there, and then it was time to get on the bus. And as we're getting on the bus, it was quite sort of interesting. The weather was starting to get a little bit darker, and we're going to go down to Clontarf where the Say Young film clip was done. But then this beautiful, amazing rainbow just appeared across the top of the church, which again, had you in a little bit of quite a sort of nostalgic sort of side. And then we all got off the bus and looked at this beautiful rainbow.
It was hitting the church.
It was hitting right above the church.
Right on. It was a double rainbow, wasn't it? A double rainbow, and it hit the roof of the church right at the time that everybody was out looking.
Yeah.
So we called it, didn't we? We said, well, we can't top that.
We'll claim it as a sign. So and look, by that stage it's getting a little bit dark. We thought, we'll call it a day in terms of the tour. Head back to the Mercure. Everybody had about an hour to chill and just go to their rooms and get ready for the night. And our beautiful bus driver, he waited for us all for that hour. We dropped you off to the Airbnb where you were staying because you had a little bit to do there and get the troops in order, I guess. Part two, really, of the day was the party venue where we went to. Now, B, I can't sing the praises enough of the place you selected, and Kieran, who ran the setup there. But essentially, it was sort of a little more of an industrial sort of type area. But it was this. You go up to the top floor, and it was this cozy, intimate DJ section area. Had a little stage for a band. Had a little step up area there where the cooking and all the food and the drinks could come from. It was small enough so everybody could be near each other, and it was large enough for it to include everybody there. And kudos for the place, because I thought we might be going to a pub or something like that, which would be a bit more spacious but less sort of approximate for everyone. But it was an A1 selection there. So how did you find out about that particular place?
Darren Jones and I were like trying to think where we could go, and we thought, oh, the Manny Leagues Club would be good, but it just felt a bit sterile and not rock and roll enough. And so I was like, there's got to be somewhere around there. I thought, we don't want to go too far. Do we go to the Sands? And then I just put it in, and it just popped up, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is spot on. And when I spoke to Kieran, what a man. He couldn't do enough for us. And not only that, he knew Kirk, because Kirk had already been there and done something for National Glaucoma and done some recording there. So there was already a side in that, a bit of a connection. I popped down and had a look at it as well via my friend. She went and did a FaceTime for me when I paid the deposit. So I knew it was the right place.
Yes.
I'm glad you liked it.
So if I could indulge a moment, this is a direct sort of thank you to you here. We sort of got in there, and we probably, there might have been 10, 15 people already there, and we came up the stairs and going in and just sort of, meandering away in, etc. there. And then it was almost like the next 15 minutes, I was in a bit of a daze because someone said to me, "Oh, look over there, look who's here," and Kirk's there, and I was like, "And B, you weren't there yet." I'm looking around, going, "I can't wait to tell B that Kirk is there." And then I think it was Danielle. Actually, it might have been Danielle who might have said it, etc. there as well. And then it all sort of hit me a little bit, sort of going, "Oh my God, wow! Like, B, guess who's turned up? Guess who surprised us? Well done, Sam Evans from management. She's got Kirk to us." And then you've come in, and then I've seen you, and then I've come in and go, "Oh, blah blah," and you go, "You weren't arrogant at all." You go, "Yeah, no. She didn't do that. I did that. I've got connections. I work things in mysterious ways." Or
Did I say that? I don't know if you
you said something like, it wasn't even that. You said, "Oh no, I'm full of tricks, aren't I?" Or something, and I got it going. And I tips my lid to you and go, wow, because for our listeners out there, and this is again where this is B's real true value to the podcast, other than the organizational side. B's a bit of a dreamer, and B's a bit of a glass half full person. Me, I'm a bit more of a pragmatist, realist, and going, and B says to me, surely like one of the band members would want to come along and management would organise them. And I sit here probably going, B, they've probably got better things to do to hang out with a bunch of INXS sycophants. But no, you don't listen to me. And well done, don't listen to me, because if you can pull off
I
things
never
like
listen to you.
that, no. Well, again, for everyone out there, it's wise that she doesn't most of the time. Like, because if she listened to me, we wouldn't have had Kirk there. And all I want to say is thank you for doing that. It made my night. It made a lot of people's nights. It made people who traveled across the globe and the country their nights. What happens on the road trip stays on the road trip. But let's just say Kirk had a great night. He didn't do the 1 hour meet and greet and boot off. Kirk was there till stumps. We gave Kirk a courtesy lift home because we felt it was the right thing to do. We'll share more about Kirk later, but what an introduction to the venue scene.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, a few guys decided to go to the venue before everybody else, and they were there. I won't tell you the stress matters that I was going through, but I was going through a few stress things on the phone. And then my daughter texts me, who I'd got there to prepare everything for me, and she goes, "Mummy, Kirk's here." And I just saw it come up and I go, great, at least something's good, you know. And then Paul Jolie said, I was just standing next to Glenn and everyone, we're having a chat, and all of a sudden I just felt someone brush my arm and go, hello. And it was Kirk. So all it was the band, my daughter and her two friends, Kirk and the 5 guys. I think it was Glenn Davis, Chris McKay, and Paul Jolie, and I think Paul Boozy.
Yes.
And there was someone else as well. And there's a great photo. And Paul said, I thought, I'm going to take a photo, I'll take it now. There's a great photo. And behind them, I'd got a cutout of the band as well on the stage. So it looks great. It actually looks like the band looking at them. But again, yeah, it's so nice. I did put an invite out, so I'm glad you took it.
And the slight problem with alcohol is it does sort of have a way of dulling the senses. But I think it was Paul Jolly, or it could have been someone else, but they said to me, I was just standing there chatting. And then on my right-hand side, someone came over to join our chat. And then I looked at them and looked back at the people chatting to, and then I had to do a double take and look back at, oh my God, Kirk's with us. He just joined the conversation.
But Hayden, how good did he look?
He looks great.
He looks amazing.
Kirk's gone blonde. He's kept the moustache and the darker, a little bit darker. But he's such a jovial, happy, upbeat sort of person. And remember one line he said during the night, just out of he goes, I love my life.
Yeah.
That's such a great reflection of everything.
Yeah. And we would, I think we were also lucky that Lane was away. So he was a bit, he hadn't got anything, got nothing else to do but come and see us lot.
I said, Lane couldn't make it. I said, respectful. And he goes, no, she's in Hawaii for 10 days. So, you know, he didn't say I'm off the leash, but, you know, where's the fact he's got a little bit of downtime, you know? So us blokes can relate to that. So, and let's just say day one of the 10 days, Kirk's taking advantage of it in a very positive, loyal way, but he had a great night, and we were glad to get a great night.
He did, and he was there from something like 6:30 until about 1 o'clock in the morning. And he spent time with everybody and listened to their stories, and you know he was so engaging with everybody, and huggy. I think there's some footage of you and I getting some really good bear hugs from the man. So privileged. And then I had more, didn't I? I created a video.
Just hang 1 sec. I was just going to just quickly finish this little section, and then I was going to throw to that if I could.
Yeah.
Just quickly with I've put down down here with the party, with the venue, hospitality. Everybody was great that night. You had the paella. Paella, I should say, not paella. Spanish food. We had beautiful chicken wings. We had lots of other little nibbles around on the side. The alcohol finally made it. There was a risk it wasn't turning up, but before we knew it, you know, roughly, you know, probably 50 people plus were probably all there mingling, you know,
dancing and having fun.
Yeah, we just want to set the stage of just how it all arrived. Now, I'll throw it back to you now. In terms of guests, you know, you were able to, through your networking and stuff like that, be able to get some guests who couldn't be there, but were able to sort of, through the powers of video and technology, you know, be able to send some thank you and some hello messages. Now, just out of courtesy, you know, we have, you know, John Farris and Tim Farris. Tim was in New Zealand with his beard. He looked like You know, he looked a little bit like the guy from Flight of the Conchords, one of the characters with his beard, and he was in New Zealand. I don't know, it looked like he was on a boat in the middle of the.
Those three lads are all starting to look like one another now, aren't they? So Tim was starting to look like what Andrew looked like before.
John starts to look like Andrew now.
And then John's starting to look like Tim.
Right, okay. Well, but look, John was in his sort of studio there and did a big video. Thank you. We can't sort of for your listeners share that out with you, unfortunately.
You had to be there.
Either one with Tim.
Yeah.
Those ones are a bit private in-house. But there's to say they're very appreciative of the podcast, appreciative of everybody getting to the party, and thankful for what everybody, not just themselves running the podcast, but what all the participants, who are involved with the podcast do, and all the listeners.
Yeah.
Yes, we some of the other particular videos from overseas. We had Chuck. Now, what's Chuck's last name? Feldman, is it?
Fieldman
from Chicago, great friend of the band. We've had Chuck, I think, on one of our episodes before. Go back in history, you can find that episode, but he sent a great video message through.
Yeah, and I was standing next to Kirk when all this was happening because I wanted to see his reaction too. And he was like, "Oh my God, look at John!" And then he was like, "Oh my God, Chuck!" Because my God, Chuck's been with us really from like way, way, way back. And then,
but guess what? In the powers of technology, we're going to share a little bit of Chuck.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name's Chuck Fieldman. I'm speaking to you from the Chicago area. I wish I was there with all of you. I'm sure you're having a great time. My history with the band goes back to 1984 when I saw them open for the Go-Go's in the Chicago area, met them afterwards, and developed a great friendship over the years. Still keep in touch with everyone. Who visited Gary a few times and his family when I've been out in California. Saw Andrew a few months ago in Nashville. They were great guys then, and they still are just super, super nice people. I'm very fortunate to call them friends. Along with the great music, of course. I hope you guys are having a blast. B and Hayden, keep doing a great job. And do one favor for me while you're out there. Get elegantly wasted for me.
Yeah, he's not as big as he used to be, is he? He looks a little bit different. And sharing the love. And then the next guest we had up here, oh my God. When I received this video, I was sitting next to my husband on the sofa and I had my headphones and I squealed like a 14-year-old. And he was like, what's happened? And I was like, everyone's going to go off. I'm getting tingles about it. Go on, Hayden. What was the exclusive? Or should we just play it and let everyone hear?
Let's just play it now, but there is something about a certain historical release from Michael. So over to you, Bruce.
My name's Bruce Butler, and I had the honour of being invited onto the podcast to be interviewed about my lifelong friendship with the members of INXS and my close friendship, management and collaborations with the wonderful composer Ollie Olsen. I'd like to thank the podcast and all involved in it for their continuing support of not only INXS, but in particular Ollie. And when Ollie was in great need a couple of years ago, Access All Areas helped me and Ollie and his friends and family to raise money to help for his medical expenses. They did that through supporting the GoFundMe project, but also the Rooms for the Memory re-release that we did with Adelita, which is playing in the background at the moment, with backing vocals by my daughter Maddie, who is filming this now. So a shout out to her. And also when Susie Hutchins kindly donated Michael's personal bicycle for us to auction to also help raise funds for Ollie. So I'd like to thank everyone involved, particularly B and Hayden again, for their continuing support of the music of INXS, Ollie Olsen, and Australian music in general. Now, before I go, I have got a little bit of exclusive news for you. For the first time in 30 years, I am very confident that we are about to have a deal to re-release the Max Q album. It has taken a long time, but finally, negotiations are underway with all the relevant parties, and I'm confident that before this year's out, the classic Max Q album will be reissued in a bigger and better form. So keep an eye out and keep listening to the podcast because that's where you'll hear about it first. Thanks a lot. Have a great time. Talk to you all soon.
All right, so that's pretty much a wow moment, as it be. We could see Max Q get a reissue.
Yeah, awesome, lad. And we're going to get the exclusive on that, which is even more fantastic. Yeah. He was so lovely. He was like saying some nice things about you and I. And
look, sometimes we, through what we do, we sometimes forget, that we have made a little bit of an impact in other people's lives and podcasts and fundraising activities. So it was very lovely to hear that from Bruce. And as I said, we know Ollie's last couple of years, the whole sort of music industry seemed to get together and help him. And it's nice to do a little bit to contribute to that as well. All right, next one we're going to do be, this is an interview you did. I happened to miss out on this particular one at the time. Maybe it was a scheduling thing. But
did you?
No, I didn't. I wasn't on that one. But Sean Dixon, isn't it? From the Soup Dragons, who had a massive hit, with On Free, which was the Stones cover back in 1990, and were on the X Factor tour with INXS. Did a fantastic little audio and / video sort of message to us. So rather than us tell you about it, let's hear from the man.
Hello, all my INXS friends. I am Sean Dixon. I was and still am the singer of the Soup Dragons. and I'm also known as Hi-Fi Sean. And I'm here just to say how wonderful it was to do the tour back in 1991 with INXS all around America. I'll make this short. The story is, we were actually only played 2 shows in Florida. And on the first night of the first show, after we came off stage, which was amazing playing this big arena, Michael comes rushing in and said, hey, it was the first time we met him. He said, hey, and he grabbed me and he said, I want you to do the whole tour. And I said, how long is the tour, Michael? And he said, oh, it's about like 3-4 weeks long, 5 weeks long. And I was like, we only came for like 2 nights. I've only got like jeans and 2 t-shirts. So then he ran away and came back with a blank check and said, here, come on tour, buy anything you want. And that was the start of our wonderful relationship with Michael Hutchins, who became a good friend. We had wonderful times, and everything that's been said about Michael is true. He's one of the nicest guys that I've ever met in the music industry. And believe me, I've met some right knobs, and he has nowhere near the knobness of some of the big stars I've met. So yeah, have a wonderful INXS day, whatever you guys are up to. And yeah, thank you for listening to my story about INXS.
And Kirk again was just loving that. Loved it, yeah.
And you know, these little tidbits, we've always said, you know, we've got a really good idea about the band themselves. And I know Richard Simpkins said it that night about your heroes, you know, like they were as friendly as you think they are. And, you know, hearing Sean just get a check from Michael going, buy what you need, you know, coming on tour with us, you know, and that sense of brotherhood, you know, to a support act when, you know, INXS in the early days had some pretty knobbish bands they had to support who weren't really that great to them. You know, Queen were fantastic to them, but they had some experience with some other bands that maybe was out of that weren't that great, you know. So, there you go. But thanks, Sean, for those lovely words. One more little video message we didn't put up on the night, but we are going to send out. He's been a great friend to the podcast, and we're able to sell a couple of his portraits and photos there of Michael, plus we've got one for future auction, but that was Chris Scafaro, so a nice word from Chris.
I just wanted to say thanks to all the INXS fans out there, and thanks to Bea and her podcast. I gotta say, you know, you INXS fans are the best of the best. I hope these prints I've donated go to a big fan, basically. But I want to thank everybody. I loved having my Michael Hutchins exhibition back in 2019 in Sydney. I loved meeting everybody. I think I have 10 new friends because of that exhibition. But just to let everybody know, I just wanted to say thanks to the podcast, thanks to the fans, and thanks to everybody. And if anybody ever needs anything, wants a Michael Hutchins print or INXS photos, reach out. Let me know. I'm here to help, always. So thank you, everybody. Have fun.
All right, and obviously one of the guests there along with Kirk for the night was Richard Simpkins, a long-time sort of fan of the band, and, you know, a guy that, you know, was really inspired to go on and take a lot of, you know, photos of many superstars over time, and, you know, really was inspired to do photography, I guess, you know, through his history. What we thought we would do, we've been able to sort of do a side interview with Richard outside the night where we're able to put to him, you know, 4 or 5 quick questions that we think that summarise the night that would be easier for him to share with our listeners. Given the amount of noise there that night, it would have been hard to record that there that night. So, look, thanks, Richard, for jumping into this little side little interview. First question we wanted to ask you was, look, reposting those images of you and your younger self from 35 years ago, just to an audience the other night, you know, with Kirk, how does it sort of make you feel? And how did you do it? And how did it make you feel?
Yeah, looking back at that video footage I had with me and INXS 35 years ago and all the photos and stuff, and it just takes you back to that time. You know, it's 2025, but watching the footage from 1990, May 1990, it takes you back to that time. And I feel like, you know, that kid again. And then it was kind of surreal because I jotted down some notes of what I was going to say on the night. And then I walk in and there's Kirk, and I was like, I don't need these notes. Kirk's here. I'll just talk. And then, yeah, I think Bea said, you know, Kirk, you sit next to Richard. So I felt really comfortable. I was so happy that Kirk was there. Just so grateful. But yeah, that's a great feeling. I'm just so lucky. I'm always just feeling lucky that INXS were my band, and INXS are literally the greatest guys ever. And I'm just grateful that, you know, they allowed me to practice my photography on them and, you know, turn up to Rhinos with a video camera for a couple of days. Didn't even ask him. We just turned up with a camera. We're filming stuff that was fun for us. So we captured that moment of innocence with INXS.
All right. Michael in Pictures is a book and a publication we get asked about a lot, and I think it's probably something you get badgered about, you know, relentlessly. Is it still regularly asked for, you know, globally to you, like as much as we do get asked? And is there any chance or even cost-effective ways, whether it's a digital release, or is there a chance to sort of publish it or launch it again?
So as we know, Michael in Pictures came out 10 years ago. It cost my publisher quite a lot of money to publish it. When the first sort of edition came out and sold, you know, a lot of people missed out, of course, but, you know, a lot of people did get it. But I get messages all the time from people saying, you know, can you do a print? Well, like, I don't own a publishing company, so I can't do that. And I did speak to him at the time about doing a second print of the Michael in Pictures book, but it just costs so much money. Yeah, we tried to look at options of doing something that was in a cheaper way so people could get it, but nothing's come about it so far, unfortunately. So at this stage, it's just the one print of Michael in Pictures. I wish I could make more because I want some more for myself even, but at this stage, it's just the one copy that came out 10 years ago. But again, all I can show is gratitude that people like the book so much.
All right, a couple of vital people to our podcast behind the scenes. Danielle, who's come all the way from Pensacola, Florida. John Jamin, all the way from New England. And Paul Jolly from the Southern Highlands. But it's one of our most important podcasts, patrons and contributors since the start. And we just had some questions who were there at the party the other night. Were very vital contributors to us. We wanted to just throw some questions their way because we'd love them just to share with you their thoughts.
It's Danielle and Joel. We're back in Florida. Had a great time meeting all of you. And we just have some questions that we were going to answer for Hayden B for the podcast this weekend. What made us actually want to come to Australia is obviously my love for INXS and growing up and hearing of all the places and sites. So to see it in firsthand experience is pretty much the reason why I wanted to go in the first place. And obviously, who doesn't want to see Australia as a country as well? So
that's where, for me, it's just I always wanted to go, and this gave me a good reason.
What connected me to the podcast the most is obviously being a massive INXS fan. And within probably the first 3 episodes, I realized it wasn't just your normal kind of podcast, but it just the connection and the banner between me and Hayden and the musical knowledge, and it wasn't just your top 5 U.S. hits that they were talking on. The deep dives really pulled me in too, I guess.
I just found it very informative, and I would enjoy listening to it while you did.
For the bus tour, I'm still kind of processing things,
It's just amazing how that many people from all the different places in the world got together and had so much fun in one day and saw so many cool things in one day. I thought just for it all to go off so well, congratulations, B, for a job on that. And everybody to get along and be so happy with each other for such a long period of time was kind of amazing. Shows the true love that was going on in there.
Yeah, I'll second that one. And I guess if you're not a patron yet, we don't raise any money for, advertising. Everything is just through, you guys' donations, and the more people that come on board, the more awareness that we have of the podcast, the more the awareness.
Give the podcast a try. It's pretty entertaining. They give you lots. It's very informative, and they're both pretty witty. So you'd enjoy it just to listen. Even the patron, non-patron is worth listening to. It's very good.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Hey guys, it's John from New Hampshire/Boston. You asked me to answer a few questions, so I thought I would take a pass at it. Your first question was, why did I decide to go to Australia? Really a couple of reasons. One, the opportunity to meet you too. I mean, the energy that you guys put into this podcast and what you've done for the last 5 years, just the chance of meeting you guys and saying thank you in person, it definitely was a motivating factor. Dr. Jim was a motivating factor for me, when he won the tickets and, he and I were going back and forth, and I'm like, hey, come on over to Cleveland, come earlier and check it out. And the fact that he did, and getting to know him and then just kind of at the experience we had in Cleveland, it just made me understand, how many people out there, do think like us and really do want to see these guys into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so I thought, kind of returning the favor and going over to Australia would be kind of a way to show my dedication. And finally, my wife, when I told her, she said, go for it. So that was definitely a motivator. Your second question, what connected you to the podcast the most? It's really this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and getting them acknowledged. I've said it a couple of times, just the number of times I've gone to the ceremonies and, what you feel when you see these bands get in and how much it means to them. INXS is my all-time favorite band, and I want to see them recognized. They deserve it. And just a mission is really kind of the thing that's connected me to the podcast the most. Your third question was share your best thoughts and experiences on the bus tour. By far the best thing about the bus tour and the party were just the people, meeting so many people who are so passionate about this band and, hearing all their stories and, watching them, listen to other people's stories, and just interacting with just so many amazing, amazing people. That is by far my favorite thing. I will say on the evening, the vibes at that party were immaculate. From the food to the drink menu to everyone's just energy level being so high, everyone being so happy. We get there and Kirk's, meeting us and we're taking pictures and just the energy level was just off the charts. The Don't Change guys did such an awesome job at just boosting the level of energy. It just didn't stop. The vibes were immaculate. That's all I have to say about that. Your fourth question was any advice for non-Patreon listeners? Get involved. When you kind of see what the mission of this podcast is to really get these guys acknowledged and recognized into the Hall of Fame, remind us all of just, how amazing they were. The mission is worth it. Get involved, whether you're liking, and commenting on the socials, becoming a patron and getting involved behind the scenes on the, the Facebook Messenger, groups and watching all the energy and passion level, at those levels. Get involved, do something, sign a petition. Let's get these guys in. That is the mission. That's what we're all shooting for. Thanks for letting me answer these. Bye.
Well, after 2012, when the band pretty much became inactive and we all went off on our own ways and, listening and streaming and watching vids, etc. on YouTube, I often wondered if there was still a community of people that followed the band. By chance, one day I stumbled across this podcast. I thought I'd give it a try, being pretty new to podcast listening myself, and found Hayden and B, obviously, and was instantly aware that there was a sense of community, a sense of people that were like-minded, had the same taste in music, clearly, and why wouldn't they, the best band in the world, and a interaction. You weren't just listening, you actually interacted, heard stuff you knew, learned stuff that you didn't know, and found out a whole bunch of stuff that you didn't even know existed. Clips, stories, facts, figures, and then obviously some band members themselves doing episodes, which were brilliant. The opportunity to interact again and ask questions directly. So from sitting in row 4,000 at the entertainment in Sydney, you're able to directly ask Kirk a question about music. All the boys have been on, and a lot of people like Mark Opus, which brought a whole new angle to listening all things INXS. So yeah, love it. I didn't have high expectations of the bus tour, to be fair. Wandering around Sydney and looking at some sites that, being a Sydney sider, I've probably passed a million times anyway. I was pleasantly surprised with the interaction and how much everybody on the tour was really into it. And it was actually infectious, whether it be St Andrews or Clontarf Beach, other places that we went to on the day. I won't spoil it because you might go on one in the future and I don't want to spoil the surprise for you. But yeah, the bus tour was fantastic. And then, of course, we went on to the after party up there at Plushtown, North Kalkal from memory. And that was fantastic. And being that I drove quite a distance to get there, me and two mates arrived a touch early and was surprised when Kirk Pengelly walked in the room, and we pretty much had Kirk to chat with for a good 15, 20 minutes. And that was mind-blowing. I'm sure everybody there got a picture and an autograph. I'd be surprised if everybody that got their picture hasn't updated their profile pics to include Kirk in that. And it was fantastic that he was so relaxed in our company that it wasn't a 5-minute drop and run. He was there from start to finish at the party, which was absolutely brilliant for us all. Should you become a patron? My opinion, absolutely. I've seen the quality of the production, the quality of the episodes increase in leaps and bounds. I would say go and listen to episode 1, then go and listen to episode 100. Cherry pick a couple of episodes where band members have been on. It's fantastic content. If you're not a patron, if you're a fan, there's no obligation, there's no push to become a patron. If you're in the position to do so, please do. Our favourite subject, our favourite band, our favourite music, it's relived on a weekly basis with two great hosts, and the content is factual, the content is up to date, and it's interactive with the community. And I think when you become a patron, you feel a bit more part of the community. Not better, just more part of the community. And you get to do episodes as well. But as a team, when I first started playing drums, I made sure I bought the same brand of kit. I used the same brand of drumsticks, same brand of cymbals, which has evolved over the years, of course, some 40 odd years later. But yeah, just his approach to drumming, I always found new. I think of the starts of songs, the beats in songs, Black and White, Original Sin. Even if you listen to Send a Message, which is a standard rock beat, the hi-hat pattern is different. I always find that stimulating. You can't emulate it in every song, but a couple of things I have maintained over some 40 years is any band I play in, don't change is the last song of the night. That's a prerequisite on me joining any band. Always try to have 2 or 3 INXS songs in. And current band I'm in, we do Don't Change, Never Tear Us Apart. And we also do Need You Tonight at the moment. So yeah, it's good fun to play. It's great music and it always fills the dance floor. So yeah, cheers.
I've got to let you know. You want my kind.
And B, three of those particular people who just contributed there were award winners the other night.
Wow.
About to, I guess, real contributors to our show, and they walk away with some great reissues from courtesy of Helen Kirkwood as well. So,
Yes.
big thank you to Helen, and big thank you to those people who came all the way to our podcast party and contribute over the year like they do. Speaking of awards, B, on the sort of night in question, we had a big raffle that night, or raffles that were going on. Thank you to your daughter Mila and co, the two sidekicks there.
Should we say their names? Trinity and Alicia.
They were fantastic.
They were.
Going around doing the raffle draws. Now, B, what did we raffle there? Because there was so many little things there. You had cutouts of the band. We had a whole bunch of sort of prizes that people could win through the raffles. Do you want to just share with the listeners some of the recipients? I think we had a skateboard there. Maybe that was part of an auction, not a raffle, but just share with some of the prizes and auction items.
Okay, we had Darren Joseph win the first prize, which was the Listen Like Thieves vintage vinyl, which had been signed and given by Tim and Kirk. That's awesome, mate. So, and he was uber excited because he couldn't make it on the day. He was sick. So don't worry, I've kept your goodie bag and I'll get that to you as well, Darren. So we'll send all of those things to you. And what else did we have? We had a few things. We had a surprise bag. So inside the surprise bag, there was some signed stuff and old magazine cutouts and all sorts of things, vintage stuff. And there was a key ring from the rock star in INXS. Might have been a guitar pick in there. Loads and loads of things. So whoever won that, I can't remember at the time. They got to choose that. And then there was a Mary Woods fan kit. And that was eagerly taken. That was the first one. So enjoy that. That's got some great stuff in there. I think that's got a signature from Andrew Farrett and Copenhagen Gilly as well. Yeah. And what else was it? And then the major one, thank you for donating this, Chris Cafaro. But that was won by Jane, who came all the way from Spain, and she won the frame.
Fantastic. So which one was that? It's not the big Chris. Was that the big Chris photo?
Yeah, bless her. And then the next morning, she came up to me and she said, "If I was going back to England, I probably would have taken it." She says, "But I've got to go here, there, and everywhere. So can I give it you back? And is there something else can I have?" And luckily, I had another image that I could give her. So I've come back with one of the frames.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jane. And boy, did she have some dance moves up there. She was getting right into it as well.
Was she? Oh, I missed that. I know today she's had a lot more tattoos. She's had a big INXS on her forearm and
right, okay.
And she says the tattoos cost a lot less than in England here.
I think we kept the tattoo industry in business over the weekend. I don't think I've seen that many INXS tattoos and lyrics and album covers on people's bodies and things like that.
Got a tattoo?
I don't have any tattoos, but
yeah.
There you go. It's too much of a wuss. Mum said when I was a kid,
to get a drink.
Two things I can't do: ride a motorbike and get a tattoo. That's what she.
Although someone told me that you said you felt a little bit drunk halfway through the night. Was that right? Did you have a few?
Did someone tell you that? I don't know. Maybe I showed it indicated that, but by the end of the night, I definitely felt.
Did you take your top off, Hayden?
No, I didn't do that. I took my jumper off.
Yeah.
But I have, in the interest of self-indulgence, lost a bit of weight. And I did say that to Georgie, and my pants I were wearing were still a size or two too big.
Yes.
But Georgie decided to dack me on the dance floor.
I wasn't too sure if that happened.
Yeah. So thank you, Port LA, Georgie. So big shout out to you.
She pulled everything down, didn't she?
She did. Anyway, we'll straighten up a little bit. I'd love to just give this guy some significance of the night. And it was such a messy part of the night where Blair and
he was so excited. He kept saying, "When can I come on? When can I come on? When can I come on?"
Poor old Blair from Don't Change had to wait for a lot of the festivities to end. But the two guys with him, are they in Don't Change as well regularly?
Yes, they are. That's Loco and Kurt.
Yes, they're excellent players, and they played.
Oh, amazing!
They were effectively a three-piece, I think, for the night. But the sound was fantastic, and look, there was a lot of love in the room, a lot of morale. But I'd go as far to say that it was the best INXS cover show I've ever seen. Maybe the environment helped, but when I share the set list with listeners, it'll probably resonate with many out there. I might just quickly do that, because any set list that starts off the night with Johnson's Aeroplane, then a golden playpen, you're like, wow, we're in for a real treat here. So,
and do you know what? Yeah. I was sitting next to Kurt, and he goes, "I wrote that." He wrote the Golden Playpen.
He did.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Him and Michael, that one. And typically the lyrics, "I'm drunk, can't find it," So, but look, I look in no particular order, because there's no way with the amount of alcohol consumed I could get this set list in order. But I do have a memory for detail, and I made a conscious effort to denote every song in my head, and then go back and compare them to the albums after the day after, and go, "Did I hear that last night? Yes, I did." Tick, write it down. So I've gone and compiled a list of the songs they played. So in no particular order, they played Just Keep Walking, The Love One, Stay Young, Don't Change, Black and White. Paul Jolly was very impressed with that.
It was good, that, yeah.
Golden Playpen, Send a Message, Burn for You, Dancing on the Tree.
That was amazing, the Burn for You.
Absolutely. Dancing on the Tree was in one of the encores. Johnson's Aeroplane, as said. I think they played Melting in the Sun. I'm hoping they did. I'm a bet 70-30 on it. What You Need, This Time, Kiss the Dirt, Listen Like Thieves, got Need You Tonight, Devil Inside, New Sensation, Never Tear Us Apart, Mystified, Disappear, The Stairs, hear that sound, heaven sent, not enough time, beautiful girl, taste it, and one of the great ones, they played everything.
Yeah.
And hearing everything of the night has made me come up with an episode, which I'll share with you at a future time. Having said all that, I think there's about 28, maybe 29 songs they play. And
Amazing.
they didn't play Original Sin, and they didn't play,
Well, this was a conversation we had. He kept saying, "What shall I play?" And I said, "I want deep cuts if you can."
Yes.
And we stayed away from the Listen Like Thieves album because we thought that everyone will probably be listening to it on the bus and stuff. So
Well, they did cover it. Look, they
Couple.
they covered What You Need, the major singles this time, Kiss It and Listen Like This. They played the 4 major singles. But look, you're right. There was good 6 or 8 deep cuts. There was a couple of singles that aren't that well known they played. They went heavy a little. They went, into Welcome, some non-single stuff. And they missed some obvious, hit singles as well. So it was just, again, being there, the variety, you just kept you guessing as to what they're going to play next. I was sitting there going, shit, they're going to pull out, a different World of the Crocodile Dundee soundtrack next. That was the uniqueness of the night. So, but look.
And bless him, because it wasn't really much of a stage that they were on. So he was standing on top of his stall at the same time as singing. And Kirk was sitting right by the side stage. But they could never, and you hear Kirk, someone's videoed it going, no pressure, when Kirk had to do the saxophone.
Well, look, it's so funny you say that because we're sitting over there waiting because I was just keeping an eye on Kirk as he was playing the whole set. And there were different times of night that Kirk was in different parts of the venue. But there were times we went over and sat down and was watching. I was just thinking to myself, it's a bit like doing an English exam, with Shakespeare. And Shakespeare's in the audience going, no, you don't say it like that. So
when they did Don't Change, they did the one that the version that Kurt had sang with, and it's beautiful, and we played it not so long, and I thought he was singing because I was up in the bar on the top of the I'm thinking, and I come running over thinking Kirk's on the microphone, and he kept saying it sounded very similar, and he goes, no, I'm not singing, and I went, no, I know you're not singing, but it sounds like, he goes, I'm not singing.
That's right. That's right. And look, I think, we're able, they had a little bit of a break or a sort of break in sort of their set, and we're able to get up, I think, and maybe give out a few more sort of awards and things like that. And
well, we got an award. How lovely was that?
we got a little plaque for our services too.
It's beautiful, so thoughtful.
It was fantastic.
It's it actually is our first ever episode, the time that it started, and we only did 57 minutes and 21 seconds.
Correct.
Gorgeous. And
I think I might have said on stage, geez, we really were rusty. I couldn't waffle.
Oh, you dropped yours, didn't you?
I did, yes.
You dropped your pants and you dropped your award. What else did you drop?
But I didn't drop my guts, so there you go. Sorry, America, that's an Australian expression. It's a bit unsavory, but look, the band, came back, played an extra set, and then they had another, encore came on, and it really flowed within the night. And look, as the night sort of wound up, God knows what time it was just a great love and morale and a vibe in the room. And look, by the time the night ended, I think, it was, I think there was just a fantastic feeling in the room, and I think just a amount of respect that people had for being part of this community, which we felt,
Yeah, and at the end of the night, I want to say thank you to Scott from Vox Neon for walking me home, because somebody had turned the lights out, and I was looking for the snaky light to lead me home, and it wasn't necessarily walking up and down the road. So yeah, Vox Neon are in the same agency as Don't Change.
Yes.
So so I would definitely say go out. They're just as big as Don't Change as well.
We interviewed him with another
Sean
and Scott. Yes, so one of our past episodes, and they I think grew up with John as well, and went to the same school and had history there as well. So you can find that episode. I am going to see those guys when they do tour in Melbourne, because they've got a pretty good show going, so can't wait for that.
He's brilliant. He's really, really good. He's got a very good high voice as well. And can't thank Kieran enough. You were amazing, mate. I hope you're listening to this. It's called Plush Town Events.
Yep.
If you ever want to go and have an amazing party and feel like you're being looked after, feel like you're in a New York apartment, and it's just solely for you guys.
It's a great
just amazing.
I mean, there's a great view of the city line and everything there. It was just perfect, and it made me feel like we should do this every year.
Well, Kieran said used to do it every 6 months, and someone said every year. I was like, well, I wouldn't mind doing it every year, but I need to recover right now.
No. But who knows? Maybe Lucky 7 is the number that comes up. Maybe in 2 years' time when the Rock Hall of Fame induction starts, we start the 7-day tour. That's our celebration of the induction, and then we kick on to America and consecrate it there. So
we also want to say thank you to Georgie, actually, your friend who sort of like tried to derobe you. She gave me a pot of jam, and she's got an autistic son, bless him, and he's made some jam, and it's called Georgie's Jam, and it's made with pineapple and gin, and it's supposed to go on your toast, and it makes a little bit of fun with your toast. So
it looks like English the way you're describing this, but you're such an English person. But
Jim,
so it's beautiful. I love
jam, yeah. So it's a Mother's Day jam. Oh,
Now,
sweet.
for our American listeners out there, our version of jam is your version of jelly. So just
Oh,
a little bit of a translation there across
yeah,
the
yeah. So I'll tell you how that tastes, and yeah, you can
All right.
grab some of that as well. And then thank you. Someone's bought me a candle to relax the next day, so I've got to find that. That's good. And some chockies, and so thank you for everyone for being so thoughtful, really thoughtful, and so lovely.
All right.
The love in that room. Kurt couldn't stay there till 1 a.m. with us, and
Yep.
said. I mean, he wanted to stay, but I said,
Well, look, in the interest of driving and everything like that, Sarah Kramer, is it? Kramer?
Sarah Cameo,
Cameo.
my bestie. You know.
Ended up driving Kirk home, so thank you, Sarah.
I'd like to say, as she's walking down the stairs, he says, "Oh, I'm very excited to go home with you, Sarah." And she says, "Kurt, I'll just let you know, you're not coming home with me. I'm taking you home."
And again, Kurt was being a gentleman. Okay,
yes,
yeah,
sorry,
you're
Lane.
listening. He was just being a gentleman, Lane. Now, also the next day, as a little postscript to it all, Kurt was very generous, and as a bit of a thank you, what a thank you. He ended up taking B and your lovely daughter Amila out for dinner.
For Mother's Day, yes.
Little local constabulary there. Or is it constabulary? Your local jaunt?
It's a beautiful place. It's right on the edge of the water.
Yep.
It's called the Harbour Diggers.
So
Vietnamese.
you can tick a box that I don't think I'll ever tick, and that if you've had dinner with an INXS person.
You never know. You never know.
Never know.
You're doing your half empty, aren't you, again? So, yeah, you just need to stick with me a little bit more.
Okay, that's right. So I got home about 2:30. I think I was up at 5:30 to get to the airport at 7 to fly home. You obviously the next day said, rather book in your weekend with the dinner with Kirk. We might close it out with that, B. Other than to say, well done to you, putting everything together, just the amount of goodwill, and the amount of Facebook posts since for everybody there. Fantastic. For those who couldn't attend, we hope this episode we're able to bring you into the tent a little bit. We'd love you to be a patron. These are a lot of these patron experiences we talk about. It's not just sort of us listening to the podcast, and this is not a money making exercise for us. All the money we make in this podcast goes into helping us do it and having these type of events and having some funding to do it. And CB does a line of work, but with the more patrons we have, the more things like this we can put on. And imagine the type of party we could trump this party in America by having a post INXS party in America with the band and everybody there and stuff like that. Like, if you think this party was good, we could take it another notch up. So, B, get your 2026-27 planning vibes ready for our Cleveland party. That'll be the next one on the cards there, right?
I think that one is a definite. But you're not in the group chat with all the people that went to the party. It's not stopped. Everyone's still chatting about it. They're so excited.
Right, okay,
and then,
back in.
yeah, you do need to jump back in. And then Blair popped it out and said, they're going to be doing a really big gig at the DY Hotel, which is not far from where we were, on the 24th of January, which is 2 days after Michael's birthday. What we're all going to do is on the day of, we'll all meet up and have a barbecue down at Clontarf Beach, and then we'll all go to see Don't Change Play on the 24th. So if you want to be part of that, I think that will probably be our next thing, and that's only 6 months away.
Yeah, and for those in Australia, flights around are so cheap now. You can book in advance, and before you know it, you can fly in and out, for a couple of $100. You know what I mean? People spend a couple of $100 on groceries and food and cigarettes and things you don't need. A couple of $100 you can fly in for these type of things.
Yeah, so let's celebrate Michael's birthday. I think it would be, he's 65?
66.
66.
Yeah.
He won't like that, will he?
Should have with a nice lift. But
66.
All right, B, that's a wrap on the party. Thank you again. All right, B, what's it time for now?
It's time for the news.
Hi, this is Darren Joseph from Perth, Western Australia, and you're listening to the #1 INXS podcast, Access All Areas. And now, it's time for the news.
All right, well, let's bring this puppy home, B. We're going to do a quick little news section because there's so much going on in the INXS world. We did want to get the party stuff out first, but I'm going to just rip through some very important noteworthy news items that we can't hold on for a week just to share with our listeners. First of all, B, you'd have to live under a rock if you didn't realise there is a brand new INXS album, albeit a reissue, redux version of Listen Like Thieves that went out on May the 9th. All we can say is wherever you are around the globe, digitally download it, buy it, go to your record stores, go to your outlets, wherever it is, and buy it. Get online to any platforms where you do sort of purchase music, and let's get this thing into all the major charts around the world. Even though we were all given complimentary ones the other day by a manager, I'm still going out myself and buying something official this week from the stores.
Yeah.
Also, too, look, there's a ton of articles out there at the moment. There's too many for me to share just in this news section, but there'll be at least 30 to 40 articles. If you punch in INXS News, you'll get all these Listen Like Thieves articles. There is one I'd like to give acknowledgement to, and I think I'd like to get him on our podcast again soon, B, and that is Philip Mortlock did a great interview with themusic.com. He talked about INXS being one of the great bands, particularly in work ethic at the time, and he obviously was one of the creative guys with the band at the time. We did interview him a couple of years back, but in unison with this particular release, it's probably timely to get him on again soon, so I'm going to put an invite out to Philip. true gentleman of the podcast and a stalwart of the band. Also, too, in the Insta tweeting world, I know the band, like Gary's been very high up in his Instagram posts and tweets about Listen Like Thieves. Kirk himself has been on Sunrise. He's also done an interview with Variety, an article there about the Listen Like Thieves film clip, saying back in the day, probably, some of these film clips cost more than making albums. Andrew Farris has tweeted. There's been quite a lot of participation from the band on the social medias and the interview stakes as well. So just check those out. Also, too, big shout out again to the Don't Change guys. We've already promoted one of their gigs. Go to the website. There are a lot of gigs coming up in the second half of the year around the country. And if the other night's gig is something to go by, this one's going to be pretty special and things like that, for people as well to get to. Also, to be a great little article. There's a publication called The Ear of Newt, and it's actually a publication by Steve Newton. Steve interviewed Michael Hutchins back in 1983. And he's come up with his own creative list in light of, I guess, the INXS wave at the moment in the music sort of side of things, of his top 20 INXS songs. And it's a very creative list. There's about 6 songs I've never seen on the top 20 list on his list, which I thought is worth people deep diving on. In addition to this, Rebel FM, the rock station, I don't know which country that is in, but apparently last week at 3 p.m. on May the 10th, they did an uncut, unfiltered deep dive discussion, Listen Like Thieves and everything there. So I'm going to try to retrieve that and post it on our platforms, or at least find it and listen to it first as well and share a bit about that. But it sounds like something worthy to go back into in light of INXS mania that's sweeping the world at the moment. And also, last but not least,